But yeah, I thought today what I would do for you is work through with one of the mannequins that we've cut previously. Maybe we can put the link, if you're interested what sort of haircut this was before, maybe we can put the link in the comments later. But yeah, so I wanted to approach this with a very simple section. We're going in with a horseshoe, okay? So this is our horseshoe section. I might just bring this side up a little bit. What I'm thinking we do, right, because at the moment we've got some tails, we've got some lines, we've got a few things going on. So I wanted to really strip it back and simplify it, and bring this shape through the back here. I wanted to bring this up, bring this around, and then have the front maybe into more of kind of like a bowl sort of shape through the fringe. I think that would look really, really nice. So we're still covering the eyes, because Crystal kind of freaks me out a little bit through this zone. So we're going to keep it nice and low and heavy. But I'm thinking if we kind of meet up with this shorter bit through here, then we can utilize already this shorter piece through the side as our guide for that. But yeah, that's what I thought we'd work through today. So yeah, those of you that are here, and again, if it is the first time you're here, I work for Bieber Academy, which is a registered training organisation in Melbourne, and we're obviously in lockdown, so we thought we would jump on here and just deliver a bit of good love education for everyone out there. But yeah, I've been teaching for a while now, and yeah, I just really love cutting hair and, you know what I mean, just connecting with people online. This has been a really wonderful time to connect with new people that didn't know what Bieber did. And yeah, so again, like I said, I am an educator. So if there's something that I've said today that you're like, God, what the hell did she say? I don't know what she means. Please, there's a comments section here. Can you please pop it in the comments? Because I can say it so many different ways. And if you're thinking it, I'm sure someone else is thinking it as well. So please, this is a really safe, open space. So, and these are designed for you. Yeah. So if there's anything that you're like, maybe, you know, maybe could you go over that, then please shout out and I can do that for you. Yeah, and I think that's the plan. Everyone's got a bit of a visual as to where we're going, because I think that that's kind of, in terms of a consultation, one of the key aspects for me anyway. What do you guys think? I think I need to visualize what it is I'm going to do, and I need to sort of somehow ensure that the client has visualized the same thing, which is it's a tricky thing to master, because you're not in the client's head and they're not in your head. So you somehow need to use that time to come to a verbal agreement that you both have the same visual. Good luck. Things that really help are mirrors, because you can kind of, you know, I would, if I was in the salon and I had a mirror, I would really use that mirror to talk to my client Crystal today about, let's bring this up, let's lift this up really high, and then we'll have that solid shape. And I would use my hand a lot to kind of cup the hair and show the client where that's going to sit through the back. So I use my hands a lot to kind of emphasize, and I make, maybe I make a lot of sound effects as well. I'm sure you'll all agree that I do that. But yeah, sometimes that kind of non-verbal communication can be really helpful as well. Yeah, to in that consultation process. But yeah, I don't spend too long going through extreme details in that consultation, because things kind of change and grow and evolve. You know, you don't want to like pin yourself in so viciously into a box that you can't express yourself a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, that's just some tips to consultation. Let's cut some hair. Okay. So as you know, I am super silly keen, and I don't really have that much going on at the moment. So I may have sectioned this like an hour ago. So I'm just going to dampen it down and make sure that we can work with it, because you want to work with evenly damp hair. It's a lot easier. And just upon close inspection here, this section just is creeping up a little bit. So I just want to make sure that this section here is nice and clean before we start. Trap it with a thumb. Yeah, that's better. Bring that down and bring that up. I use my hand, the back of my hands a lot, to get really nice clean sections. And then obviously with my comb, I've got that YS Park comb, so it's got the half tooth. I haven't broken my comb. So this is a half tooth. So it helps me for precision sectioning, if anyone's wondering about the comb. Cool. So to keep my horseshoes nice and clean when I have got shorter hair, I will comb everything forward. Okay, I'll give it a twist and then I'll push it back. Okay, so rather than trying to bring everything up, 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 and sort of end up with it all poking up with like 50 clips all around, I find bringing it forward, twisting and going back, you can usually get away with just one clip. Okay. All right, so let's start this haircut through this left-hand side. Now we have got a little bit of a existing shape through here, so we'll be working with that. First thing I want to do is split it down the center. So to find the center point, I'm going to stand behind my client. I'm going to have a feel for the spine, which doesn't exist right now, so that's really no help at all, but imagine that I'm on a client. So ears to make sure I'm centralized. Then I drop down, have a feel for the spine, line myself up like that, and then go straight down. And that's how I would centralize myself. I even like physically just tap that spine with my thumb so I can then draw my eye back up, line my comb up, and then go straight down. Just all those little visuals kind of to help you make sure that you've really centered yourself. Okay.
You haven't just asked, is there an app for the head sheets, or do you manually draw them?
Oh, is there an app for the head sheets? No, there are a lot of apps for head sheets though. There are lots that you can use. And Jordan, one of our like freakishly talented students, he's like a savant of cutting hair. He uses an app to draw them as well. So I don't know, Jordan, if you're in the room, but I'll get him to share the app that he uses. I just physically do mine because I'm a bit like nerdy like that. I really seek extreme joy. I even have a particular pen type that I like to use. It's like a felt tip pen. It's really nice. Yeah, but I like to physically draw them just because it cements in my own mind that concept of precision and sectioning. But yeah, it does take practice. Okay, so with this section, nice to see you in here, Johan, as well. I'm going to pivot right from this point. So this is my section through the back here. So we're here. I'm going to pivot like that until I get to the back of the ear. Okay, so we're going to pivot, 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 pivot to the back of the ear. Pivot, 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 pivot to the back of the ear. So, and what I'm going to be doing is graduating. Okay, so it's a graduation section that's going to pivot around. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to keep it really quite full through the back, and then I want to sync it up, and I want to sync it up. I don't want to build up too much weight down in these corners. Okay, so that's my plan. Let's start cutting. So my first section is called my guide. Okay, so the guide is the first section that you cut. And it seems like pretty obvious, like, yeah, of course it's a guide, but it's really good to go over these things because I actually thought it was called a gate for, I don't know, maybe a month. The first whole month of me cutting hair, I thought it was called the gate. I thought it was like, you like open the gate, and I'm a country girl, you like open the gate to the paddock and then you like go in the paddock. And in my mind, it made sense. But anyway, it's not called a gate, it's called the guide. Okay, so don't make the mistake that I did. All right, so we're going to take our first section. So we will pivot. We'll take that out. I'm going to move this around a little bit so you can see that profile. Bring this up. I'm going to keep this nice and full through here. And we will work this down through blending those existing disconnected shapes you can see from that last haircut. Again, if you're interested in that, all these cuts are up. You just have to go to the video section of the Bieber Academy Facebook page. So, all right, let's assess that shape and make sure I'm happy with it. And what I'm looking for is where the bevel is sitting in relation to the occipital bone, in relation to the head shape, and how that's sort of functioning. And I think for the mannequin, I think that will be a nice little shape there. Okay, so I'm going to work with that. So remember, I'm pivoting. My next section will be here. I'm pivoting right down. I use my comb to clean that section out of the way. Pick that up. And you should be able to see that guide through your finger. If you can't see the guide through your finger, for me, I find it like stresses me out and it takes me longer. But maybe your sections are a little bit too chunky if you can't see the guide through. Okay. Bringing it all the way down, right down into there. Okay, so you can see that really nice buildup of weight starting to happen. Next section, pivot back from the top, take it down, bring that over. So I think, we're probably going to, the reality is have some haircuts like this because clients are going to have been chopping their own hair. Well, if you're anything like me and my friends, little snip here, little snip there, da 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 da. Crazy disconnected haircut that your hairdresser's going to have to fix. Okay, work that round. And each time I cut, I sort of comb it, make sure that I'm watching that shape grow. Yeah, you want to watch your haircuts grow and develop. So flip around, I flip around. When I'm cutting as well, when I'm using my comb, I'll hold it through the center so I can always flip between my precision tooth for my section, then flick it for more tension. I find it by holding the comb in the center, I'm not trapped and I have this like flexibility to be able to move that comb around a lot. Okay, keep going. So you can see that through there. Cut to that knuckle, don't drop it, pick up your next section and then continue working along. Now, I was really tempted through the back of the ear here just to leave a rat tail, but what do you guys think? Should I just leave a little ratty behind the ear just because I saw Stephen Moody do this really cool haircut the other day and he left one? What's everyone think? Ratty or no ratty? Too ratty or not too ratty? Someone was asking for rat tails. Let's do it.
Marilyn says yes, I like it.
Okay. All right. If Marilyn wants a rat tail, Marilyn gets a rat tail. Hello, Marilyn. This is Marilyn's beautiful color, everybody, as well.
Jordan says leave it.
Okay, great. Oh, Jordan's here. Hey, Jordan. Okay, I won't get so excited that you're here that I cut it off.
What's the rest?
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to leave that little ratty behind the ear, okay? And what I might do is stop cutting there, okay? Now I'm going to go and replicate that through the opposite side. So you can see how by pivoting that graduation, it actually like kind of wraps it around the head a little bit more rather than keeping the weight going down. Because what I eventually want to do is pick it up, and then move into a bit of a bowl through the front, yeah? So I'm kind of transferring the weight around the head by using that anchor point, that point of origin as a little lever to move myself around from, yeah? So let's move into the opposite side. So I'm going to lower my chair. Thank you very much, client. Spin this around. I'm going to tilt the head on an angle, okay? And we're going to repeat the same thing through this side. So combing the hair, always in the direction that you want to take that section. Look at these beautiful tones. How nice will this be? Marilyn, if you can actually remember the formula for this, it would be amazing if you could put that in the comments. I feel like I've had this mannequin for maybe over a year now. I've given it a few haircuts, but I think this will look really beautiful. I'll come around here a bit more. and pick this up. So I sort of come in, scoop this up, and pick up enough of that guide from the opposite side to be able to see what I'm doing. See how I can see that. So you've got to get your fingers on the right angle, yeah? Like here. And what I could do is just tilt my client's head over a little bit more so I don't have to twist my arm as much. Okay, we'll come in. And there we are. Come up. And again. Keep this section nice and clean. Just come away there a little bit. All right. And then sometimes at the bottom of the grad on this side, you don't necessarily have a guide, yeah, because you've branched off down this way and before you were down that way. So it's just a matter of actually seeing the angle through, okay? So seeing that through right down into this area, yeah? The hairline, nape. Oh my God, I'm having a, anyway, we'll get there. All right, take this next section, twist over for a little bit more tension, clean it out of the way. And we'll keep going. So it was a pretty big, I've had a pretty big hair fest, I feel like, the last 12 hours. Been making Bradley watch live feeds of Trend Vision. Trend Vision's been happening over in the UK at the Weller headquarters. So amazing. And my friend Andrew Dunn who's an incredible person that runs the global Weller page, was doing live feeds. So you could actually watch the competitors in action, which for me is like the ultimate bit that you want to see. And that's one of the reasons why I love the competition, is because these people have 5 hours to recreate their look, to recreate the photo. So, some people, I don't know, it just takes out that element of like, did you really do that yourself? Because all of a sudden you have to do it yourself, which I love. So it was really cool. I was watching it really late, and then I got up this morning and it was still going. So very exciting. And it was just also crazy to see a room full of hairdressers working. Like for us right now, it's like, but yeah, so it's all happening again around the world. So I might finish this section and then I will check my balance, and because you don't want to do the whole side and then figure out you're kind of off. So keep going. I haven't hit my rat tail collection area zone yet. It's a very specific zone. So comb that into shape. Pop the head upright, and I'm just going to check the balance. Bradley's been told to like stay back while I do this, just in case it's not even. No, I'm joking. Am I joking? Yeah. I think we're okay. So a couple of little pulls on it, and I'm happy to keep going. Okay. So tilt the head back, assume the position, keep pivoting from this point. Take my next section. So far the only real difference between like this and that classic short round section that Bieber Academy students are learning, that short round section comes down and then sections up for grad, which would actually be the same right now because it moves like that, but I'm pivoting from the point. So that's going to end up with a fuller area in the crown rather than transferring the weight around, yeah? But essentially, you could get this using that short round section pattern. Okay, pick this up, and we are in rat tail zone. So let's go. We'll leave this through here. So it's right at the back behind the ear, I think would be the most complementary place, so it doesn't really interfere with that shape. We'll do another section here. Pick this up. It's funny, I think all the mannequins that I've got left in the house are red. It's like a real redhead fest, isn't it, Bradley? Our bedroom's like filled with redhead ladies staring at us before we go to bed. That's pretty special. All right, so there's that section. So this is where we're at thus far. You can see this. Okay, we've got that heavy weight buildup. We've created some shape, some graduation, and we've just stopped cutting at 2 points behind the ear. So you've got these nice little tails that can tuck in and sort of sit behind the ear, which, you know, you could cut off. We might end up cutting them off, but sometimes it's good to just leave yourself a little bit of something to play around with. Okay, so I'm just going to run through and just cross check that technically. So taking a slice, the opposite section, bringing that out and just making sure that there's no like little finger marks or anything through here. So I would, you know, check your balance and then come and technically cross check. So that side, it's a cross section through here. Bring it out to the same elevation. Make sure you don't cut your rat tail off. And then this side, you go the opposite, which is through here. Pick that up. Same elevation. See, there's the rat tail. I've picked that up. You don't want to do that. So you bring that out. See those little dits there? See these little like doot doot through there? That's the sort of stuff that you want to just, you know, you can just dust that out. See? That's called dusting that off. It's not called chunking off. If you have a large amount, you need to go back the same way that you cut it. So go back here and then find it this way. But it's really good. It tells a little story of what you're up to, and it's a great practice to get into to be cross-checking your work. So the reason that you end up with those little bits that you might want to dust off is because you've got different tension in your fingers. So if you hold your fingers up, mine are pretty like, you know, I've done a few years of training, right? Let's put it that way. So when I bring it out, I can really push my fingers together really strongly. But when people first start, like cutting hair, I could probably quite easily just pull their fingers apart like that. Like they don't have that tension between there. So that's really something that you could be working on now, is like that, the ability to hold your hand and bring that in and out, and have that really strong. So hold it as tight as you can and get someone to try and pull it apart. Yeah. And depending on the finger shape that you have, some people actually have gaps in their fingers. They have quite large knuckles. So they might have to slightly cross their fingers over in order to get that tension correct. Yeah. I don't know if Paul Ho's in the room, but Paul and I were at school together, and he could actually push his comb through his fingers, and it, like, without them separating at all. So if anyone has that issue, Paul would be a great one to talk to, because he learnt how to deal with that, and he's a brilliant cutter. All right, so let's keep going. I'm happy with how that's sitting, our little ratties through here. Just going to add a little bit more moisture in there. So even when you're adding the water, make sure that you're doing it from a distance. Yeah, it's kind of even dampness. It's not like wet. So we'll come back here, put the chair back up, and I'm going to just hold that and squash that rat tail down so I don't pick it up. And I'm going to continue that angle all the way through the front. Okay. So take out that first section. I'll pick this up and I'm going to follow this guide through here. And I'm going to take it through the front. But what I don't want to do is grab this rat tail, okay? So if you want, you could plait it, really make it look like a rat tail. I'm just going to jump over the top of it and start creating this shape through to the front. Okay. Now I'm introducing a new technique here. Can anyone tell what it is? I'm over directing. Okay. So I've started over directing everything back to that spot. Okay. Bringing everything back. Diagonal forward, everything back. Because I want to keep the weight on the fringe. Okay, so bring that back. Ooh, got a slipping head situation. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Bring this round. Okay, everything back. Now, you wouldn't usually have this short bit under there, so you would just continue that through, okay? Same section, diagonal forward, so we haven't changed that angle of the section, and I haven't moved my feet, and that's how you would over direct back to the same position. And then last section, bringing that over. Okay, there we go. So we've got this graduated shape that ends up with the weight line, yeah? Can you see that weight line really follows the horseshoe around, yeah? So by picking that up, moving it around the head, and then taking it round, bringing it back, and that's where we're at, okay? And that we've created this little rat tail moment through the back of the ear, just on those two sections right at the back of the ear, yeah? Let's do the same thing through the opposite side. So we'll come around to this side. We'll tilt our head over. We'll put our chair down. And we'll come over here. So first thing I want to do is make sure that's down really flat so I don't pick it up. Take my first same section, diagonal forward through here. Pick this up. I've got the guide from this side. And we'll bring that through. In through here. Okay. So follow it around the front here. So just before I continue, I'm going to check the guide on the angle underneath here. I might just bring it in a little bit. I think I've just, which is like a real, because you sort of come out on this side. So I'll just bring this up and just through the bottom, I'm just going to tuck that in that little bit more. Yeah. All right, so now we're going to keep going. Same section, diagonal forward. If you want to use a clip to keep the hair out of the way, you can do that. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference. But remember, we're over directing back to keep weight and fullness through the front. So who wouldn't you do this haircut on? I wouldn't do this haircut on someone who hated hair on their face, which we've got lots of clients like that. They love short hair, but they're always like trying to brush the hair back off their face because hair follows the section. So we've spent so far this whole haircut directing the hair forward onto the face. We've been using diagonal forward sections to direct the hair onto the face. So if my client hated the hair on their face, I definitely would not be approaching this haircut in this way, okay? I would have started the haircut at the front and I would have used diagonal back sections, yeah? So your client and how they even wear their hair can even tell you, well, it really does tell you what sort of sections and how you should be approaching your haircuts, yeah? Where you should be starting. Bring that back. And I think I could bring all of this back. Just connect it into this front bit. All right. And there's that opposite side through there with our little rat tail. All right, so what I want to do is just go through. I'm going to move around and just check my internal weight line. So I'm going to pick up this. Same elevation, and just make sure I'm happy with where this weight is sitting. Literally going to work this around this whole internal. Okay, and it should be quite balanced. It should be parallel to the section until the point where I started to over direct, and then it should start getting longer because I increased the length by over directing everything back. Then all of a sudden it starts getting longer out towards away from the head shape. Yeah, so that's what I'm checking now. Pick this up and just move around and just checking this internal shape. So pretty straightforward so far. We've used round sections, so a diagonal section. We've used a diagonal forward section, so we've pushed the hair onto the face. We've stopped cutting at 2 points around the back of the ear to create a rat tail for someone that was maybe Kobe. Was it Kobe that's been asking for a rat tail for like a year now? And yeah, that's where we're at. So what we might do is I'm going to take out this top. First thing, like I've got a bit of an idea of what I'm going to do, but again, everyone really should cut what is in front of them rather than what's in their head and what you think you should do to somebody. Yeah. So whilst I've got an idea of what it is I think I should be achieving, until I comb this out and actually assess it, I don't really know. Do you know? So I think if you're a colorist and you don't usually cut, I think maybe something similar would be choosing what toner it is you're going to use before you've rinsed off the foils and had a look what your powder lightener has done. Like, how do you know what you're going to tone with if you don't know what you're working with? And cutting is exactly the same. And I think that a lot of people move through hair like a bushfire, like, like really quickly without actually thinking like what's best right now. And with precision hair cutting, I think you really have to do that. So to comb this down and let's have a look. All right, so I really like this shape that we've developed through here, and I actually really like where this weight line is. So what I might do before we move on to the fringe is I'm going to split this hair down the center. So I'm going to go back and do 2 sections on either side. And I'm going to approach this a little bit like how you would do the graduation that our barbers learn. So we had that horseshoe through the underneath. I'm going to subset and do a slightly higher one. And I'm going to bring everything down and I'm going to connect it into that weight line that I cross-checked. Okay. So I've branched off into a higher horseshoe and I'm going to over direct everything down. You can see that guide there. Everything is going to come down into this weight line. And I'm going to work around the head. I'm even going to bring it into that, see through here? Excuse me. And bring everything down. Next section, another miniature little horseshoe. Now, if your client already had layered hair and they were changing the shape and nothing really fit, you could just do this in one section. But my client, a lot of this is going to fit. So I'm just going to work through in a systematic way, bringing this down. And I need to create a round shape. So I need to move around my client, funnily enough. If you stand in the same spot, I guarantee you'll create like a square. Yeah, so we really want this shape to move around the head. Now I think I could probably bring everything down now. And I'm in this crown zone, which never really sits in the same place twice. So what I might do to compensate for that is I'm going to flick my comb around and I'm going to use my wide teeth, because when I'm using my wide teeth, I have released the tension on the section that I'm cutting. So you get less tension when you use wider teeth. So that's going to help for that crown to kind of move around and be really fickle and not know where it wants to sit. Okay, so last section I've just moved into this wide teeth, but still working through in the exact same way around my client. It looks a little bit like a, like a Leo. It's a bit of a Leo if we wore it down the middle, look. Or a Nananu, bit of a Keanu. All right, repeat the same thing through this side. So we'll branch off into little mini horseshoes. So we'll come around, comb the hair in the section that you want to, in the direction that you want to section first. Then you can just line yourself up, work around. Again, if you want to use section clips, go for it. But bringing this down to the same elevation that was created through that underneath weight line, which is why I cross-checked it and made sure that it was like capiche. Okay. Next section. So it'd be really cool as well with this kind of haircut if you did take this back really short and sort of did a bit of clipper over comb up through the back, but that sort of stuff never looks cool on a mannequin. But a lot of the time clients that like this shape want it really short in through the back. So you could approach this in the exact same way, but then move in with a bit of clipper over comb through the back. My section's not that, my guide wasn't that clear. There it is. That meant that I wasn't at the right elevation. If your guide is a bit like skew-whiff, it's because you're not bringing it to the same spot. You're either bringing it too high or you bring it too low, in which case you're diffusing how strong the guide is. Yeah. So it's a good little sign that maybe you're not on the right angle with your body position. So I'm up in the crown. I need to come over, remember, and do wide teeth. Cutting hair is, a lot of about consistency and kind of remembering the things that you did on one side and then recreating that through the opposite. I think I want this haircut. Or maybe we can give it to Alex, because I think she's got rat tails. She's got two big rat tails. Alex, this might be your next haircut. Bring that out. Okay. And there's that shape created. So this would be good if my client wanted to keep all this length through here. But what we want to do is continue around the front and bring off some of this length. So we get like this really sharp shape through the front. So because I have a considerable amount of length that I want to remove, I'm going to actually do that wet. Now, most of the time we kind of teach that at the academy to do fringes on dry hair. Has anyone ever cut their own fringe wet? I have. It's terrible. I did it when I was a kid. I like pulled it down really tight because I thought that would make it better, and then I cut it across and then it like sprung up. So that's why we train to sort of more do fringes and fringe trims and things like that when it's dry, because it's safer. But in this instance, we've got a lot of hair to take off. So I want to actually perform this when it's damp, okay? So what I don't want to do is use too much tension, because I don't want to like activate my childhood trauma, okay? All right. We're really tackling the big issues here, aren't we? Okay. So to get this shape through the front, I'm going to split it down the center. So using that nose, I'm going to centralize myself. Oh, she's kind of had a couple of drinks in the park this afternoon. Her head's a bit wobbly. Separate this out through here. Okay. And then we will come through. I'm going to take diagonal sections. So you can see these little arrow sections through the top here. So I'm going to take sections like that, and I'm going to work my way out to this existing shorter length, okay? So I'm going to create the length that I want here, and then I'm going to, as I work out, work to this existing shorter length, okay? So it's just a little bit dry, so I'm going to dampen it a little bit. So if this was a real client, I would just cover their face like that. Or if it's really dry and you need to actually get in there, another good tip is to spray water on the smaller teeth of your comb, and then you're able to make sure that it's damp at the root. Yeah, so that's a good little tip too. Spray water on your comb if you don't want to like dampen your client too much. Now I'm going to hop right in front of what it is I'm doing. I don't want to use too much elevation because I'll interrupt my line. I'm going to use my wide teeth because remember I was just going on about tension and how I didn't want too much tension because it will spring up. So bringing it all down, and I'm going to hold this. Can you hear what January's singing? I can hear my daughter upstairs going, "We come from a land down under." It's actually quite cute. All right, bringing that down, and here we are. So I'm going to follow that out through either side. And check your balance. And then we'll keep going. So same diagonal, introduce that into the fringe. It's kind of the same way that I start a halo bowl haircut. Okay. And then wide teeth, stand right in front of what you're doing and bring that down. Cutting straight across. And I can see this length here. See that? I'm going to connect it into that existing length through the side. Bring it there. And then we've got that same length to connect it to on the side there. Just make sure there's no dip in between those two sections. All right, keep going. Now I'm going to bring everything that sits forward, because remember I want this hair to more sit forward. So I'm just going to make sure that nothing is going to fit in this line. But what I'm going to do with this last section that I bring in is I'm just going to introduce a little bit of elevation. So what's that going to do? It's going to soften off the line and just create a little bit of graduation. So that's actually going to create a little bit of fullness. Yeah, which is good. We want that. We want it to look like a really nice full little bowl fringe. Okay. And I think I'm nearly out of length. Yeah, so when you think you're nearly out of length, just bring everything forward. And that's it. That's our shape created through there. Yeah. So what we want to do is prep it, and then we'll start drying it, and then we're going to have lots of fun doing some refining and sort of softening everything and making sure everything's working with our shape. Yeah, cool. So prep with some leave-in treatment. Make sure it's nice and hydrated. If your client, if their hair has dried off and it's fluffy, I would actually add some water and dampen it down first, because once something is fluffed, there's not really a magic product to defluff. The magic product is water. Okay, so add a little bit of dampness to hydrate it, and then start adding your styling products. Yeah, because once it's kind of dry and that's kind of it, so you need to start again. So let's add that little bit of leave-in treatment. Then I might, the whole concept of this is shine and a global, like Bradley's, are you laughing at me, Bradley, because I said global? Like a full lustrous full finish. So I think high shine, so I think argan oil. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of argan oil in my hand. So that's the hair glosser. And I'm going to run that through those key areas where I really want to add that extra high shine through the whole weight line. So we've created a really big weight line with this haircut. So pop that through, gloss up those raddies a little bit. I think one raddie's longer than the other. Who knows, they might come off. And then I'm ready to dry. Now, because I want to add a little bit more fullness and bevel, I'm actually going to change my brush. So I'm going to move into my little Denman. So I'm still able to wrap dry with this brush because it has got these little balls through it. So it's still a nice experience for my client. And I'm going to start that through the back. Okay. So we'll tilt this over, assume the position, put your client's head down so you're not hurting your shoulder, and we'll start wrapping. So we'll start through here, wrapping from side to side. You should be able to watch that shape grow. This back bit really is important that you get that dried in the right shape. So keeping that air up, so the air is always blowing down the cuticle, and then I use this hand to wrap from side to side. So I'm not a big like shaker of the air. For me, that sort of more interrupts the cuticle and creates, I don't know, just a little bit of more fluff. So I would just rather calmly hold this and then move the hair around and wrap the hair around with this brush. So there'll be some interesting little bits around this side here that we'll have to reassess, because remember we had that short, sharp shape coming up into there. So we'll have to refine the perimeter in this area still. But definitely you want to do that when it's dry. So don't forget to wrap the top as well. Swap hands. So you get a really nice balanced, even shape. So if your Denman doesn't have the little balls on the end, then I probably wouldn't be wrap drying with it. You want to make sure that you've really got the right tool for the job. So you can see those little balls. As you're transferring the brush across the scalp, what you're doing is you're transferring the scalp's natural oils as well, which is why when you wrap dry with love, you actually get a really beautiful, shiny, gorgeous finish. Yeah. Sometimes you don't even need to iron or anything. It just is what it is. Okay. I'm going to start doing my mid-length to ends now. Pop my client's head up. So I've got the roots dry. I'm going to start working through those mid-length to ends. Still catching a little bit. Who? Oh yeah. What's the vibes, Daniel Reynolds? Oh, TLC. Is it like Left Eye Loco? Is that? I love TLC. If we're talking about the same thing. Is that like waterfalls, Daniel? Are you getting waterfall vibes? It's actually got like a cool curve and then a straight. So we'll see. We might create like a whole different, and that's that like 10% don't commit too heavily. You got to leave a little bit. I went past the front of your shop the other day, Daniel. That your picture, your Trend Vision picture in the window looks so beautiful, didn't it, Bradley? It looked amazing. Like it just stood out so vibrantly on the street. I love it. We're exploring our 15K radius. So it's always just, I always go back to the wrap, mid-length to ends, back to the wrap. Oh, it's still there, Daniel. Your salon is still there. Oh, it's cool. It's cool to give this color a whole new life as well. And the mannequin. So I'll just grab my irons in a minute. Oh, that was the cue from my assistant. He's on it. If anyone needs a salon assistant at the end of lockdown, this guy's good. All right, so as I'm drying this hair and that shape's jumping out, I'm seeing all the things that I want to do. So you know how I over directed that back a little bit at the front? I think I need to actually bring that around just that little bit more. It's a bit bulky out through the sides. So these are all the things I'm thinking about when I'm drying the hair, like those refining little shapes, those moments. You don't have a long time to cut hair, so you really want to utilize the time that you have. Oh, I like the rat tails. Good idea. Whoever said to keep them. Try and get it as finished as you can with the brush. Don't rely on those irons. I think about the irons more as just that glossing tool right at the end. Yeah, but you want to, if you can, try and get that, work on your finishes, because it's just about finding the right angle with the air on the hair. And I've got no nozzle, so I've just got a really natural, wide, dispersed airflow. This is very in memory of trend vision. I'm getting bowl, always a bowl, such an iconic shape, and it's such a beautiful shape for a hair competition. Wella Trend Vision is a color brand, so it's all about making hair look shiny and luscious and full. And when you do like a global, like a full shape, you allow the light to reflect off a huge part of the hair. So you are absolutely showcasing the color. And even if you're entering a cutting competition, the color, you know what I mean? It's Wella. Even if you're entering the cutting section, it's a Wella competition. So you have to think about the color. But yeah, if anyone's interested to know what it's like inside the finals of the Wella Trend Vision, you should go to the Wella Global page and have a look at Andrew's stories from the last couple of days, or from yesterday and today. They've been quite remarkable. Okay, so let's grab these irons. I don't want to do too much. I don't want to completely ruin this really nice full shape. So I'm just going to pop this chair up. But there's definitely, yeah, you can see in here there's a little bit that we're going to have to fix of that shape. Oh, not that clip. This one. What happened there? Okay. So I'm just going to lightly gloss over the ends. Okay. So the last thing I want to do is pancake this down. I'd be so sad. So I'm just glossing over those ends. If I don't need to do it anywhere as well, I won't do it. It's not going to make it look better if you don't need to do it. Come in here. a few little bits in here. I wonder, it'd be cool to maybe I'll send this back to Maz. I wonder, maybe pop something through the front now that we've totally changed this shape. I wonder what you could do, Maz, to sort of change this up a little bit. Just gloss over that rat tail a little bit. Okay, so I use this clips and I try not to even pick it up with my hand. I sort of use the comb to come in, move it over, and then pick it up like that. Just a few spots. And over here. I ran out of talk. So instead of a Thursday live this week, we're going to do a haircut tomorrow as well. For those of you that are keen to join for another one of these this week. So we will, it's not going to be Thursday. It's going to be Wednesday at 3:30. So same time, but just different day. And I've combined the links. So it's the same link for tomorrow that it is for today, just to make it a little bit easier. Okay, bring that down. Got this rat tail on this side. Just gloss that down a bit. And then I think we're ready for some finishing. All right. Grab my scissors again. Now, before I come and work on these perimeters, because I can definitely see some discrepancy in the shape through here because we had that existing line. You can see that through there. So we've just got a little bit of a shape here that we need to straighten up through both sides. And here, there's a little bit there. But what I want to do first is create a little bit more movement internally. Okay, so what I will do is I'm going to travel through the head using the same sections that I did to cut it. So diagonal forward, I'm going to roll my sleeves up because I'm in business. Okay, so I'm going to take a diagonal forward section. What I will do that's different is I'm going to hold the hair on top of my fingers in through here, and I'm just going to break up just to create a little bit more movement. Now that I've glossed it a little bit with the irons, I actually don't mind that little bit of over direction. I think it's made it quite full through the sides, which I like. So again, it's never until you've really finished it and you're assessing it that you can decide. So what I'm doing is I'm point cutting. So I'm pointing into the ends of the hair, into the ends of the hair shaft. So I'm promoting a little bit of movement. I'm removing weight. Yeah, and I'm just breaking up the shape in through here. Moving around my client. So if I didn't cut directly into the ends of the hair, then I would jeopardize the shape that I've just created. So definitely don't want to do that. So move that around, bring this up. So I'm almost using elevation, and I'm picking up that weight line where I brought everything to, yeah? Bringing it up, and I'm just breaking it up a little bit. So just kind of, it's going to add, more than anything, it's going to add movement for my client. Yep. I definitely want to work this on top of my fingers. If I was doing this inside my fingers, then I would be bringing it down here and I'd be going like that, and I would potentially do the opposite of what I want. So right now you can see now this hair's just got this really nice soft, the way that's moving just looks a lot more expensive and refined. If I brought this down and pointed into it, it would have marks in the hair. Yeah, so by just using this elevation, and sometimes I even sort of slide out whilst I'm doing it. It's a very soft result. Anything on top of your fingers is for removing, it's for layering, it's a lot lighter and it's a lot more natural. You stand up straighter, yeah, so you remove more weight. Whereas when you're inside your fingers, you're down here, you're lower, you're hunching, you're graduating, you're doing one length, you're doing heavy things, yeah. But if you want to do light things, do them on top of your fingers, okay? And this is that last bit that's really going to make this haircut move around and look beautiful. Sometimes these graphic haircuts, you know, can look a little bit aggressive if you don't just add that soft little bit. You know what I mean? Bradley, you agree? Yeah, good. Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to do the same thing through here. So I've just picked up this, but again, I'm on top of my fingers. I'm going to break up this grad. So we'll keep the length, but it's just going to sink into that nape just a little bit. Put my client's head down. This is the area as well. If you know, maybe your client wanted you could like scissor over comb it a little bit shorter, but on the mannequin just never really translates that, taking it too short. I've had a bit of experience now with my friends, the mannequins. There's a very fine line between like short and then you're like, oh wow. I think it's because there's no elasticity on the scalp. Like it doesn't, there's no natural movement on the scalp. So it just kind of goes and looks a bit angry. So I have to move my body and stand in the front so I can take these diagonal forward sections. Yep. So I would be working over the top of my client, and that's what I would be doing if I was in the salon. I'm so like all about moving the client around to protect my own back and to get the shape that I need. So I'm not really a huge chatter. I'm sort of a bit more of a silent operator, I guess. But there's been a lot of interesting, it's been great being able to watch New South Wales, our friends in New South Wales, get back to work. And lots of people have been doing tiles about COVID-free conversation. And so that will be really interesting. There's so much for us to work out when we get back. And I think clients will really want to just maybe zone out and have some time to themselves. If they've been homeschooling people for months and months, they'll want to, there's just something here. They'll want to just chill out. Same thing, moving in here, diagonal forward. Pick this up, don't cut your rat tail. So this is the This is the technique where a lot of people cut themselves. This is it. This is why the band-aids are necessary for a lot of it. So I've probably cut myself so many times now that my skin's quite like elephanty through there. But by not coming in and out of the hair shaft too much, sort of picking a length, dictating that length and moving along the section, that way I cut myself probably a little bit less than if you were coming in and out like that. Just lower that chair. So point cutting, any kind of texturizing technique is visual. These are called visual techniques. So what you need to do is visually watch what it is you're doing. Yeah, so you need to be moving the hair around all the time and actually, making those decisions and making sure that you actually like what you're doing and where it's going. Because if you don't, you can really cut too much, and totally ruin a really beautiful haircut. So this side I don't think needs as much. It doesn't seem to be as thick. Or maybe again it's the color. Okay. And now we've got this hair got over directed back here, right? So when I pick it up, there's going to be a little bit of a point through here. So what I'm going to do is take horizontal sections. I'm going to pick this up. You can see that point, and I really want to soften off on that point through here, just so it can move around evenly. Just really working that shape. Okay. So I'm happy with my internal. So now I'm going to finish the perimeter, okay? So try and get really eye line with what it is you're doing. I'll start with the back because it's already, I think, predominantly established. Don't think I can go any shorter, but let's have a look. Not really. Maybe just point that a little bit, just to soften it up a little bit. Just take it that little bit shorter, but I kind of like that suggestion into the rat tail, that sort of slightly coming down into that. For me, flows with that length that little bit. So let's break that up. Using a pointing technique on my hairlines so they're softer. I'll come through this side, do the same thing.
Aaron says this reminds of Maddie.
Maddie, oh yeah. It's very Maddie, Marilyn. And we called these the girls. These were literally called the girls. And she was like, she had to go and work. I think she had to work in a bar or something afterwards. And so she was like tucking the girls up and around her ears and like pinning them. It's pretty funny. Okay, and this side. So we'll work down to create a similar shape down through this side. Again, using that pointing just to refine that. And then break it up a bit. I really like pointing. Even if you want something to be really blunt, I think the pointing just, oh, my scissors, my poor scissors. The pointing just adds this softness to it. Yeah, what do you think, Marilyn? I mean, with the color, would you change anything now that we've changed the shape? I mean, this is kind of ultimately how we work a lot of the time, Marilyn and I. We would color, maybe do a global like powder lightener or something like that. We would color, then I would cut, and then we would recolor, to kind of emphasize the haircut. And then you would cut back through that. So it'll be interesting to see if Marilyn wants to change the shape. All right, so here we are. I'm happy with the back. You guys see the back? So it sort of comes up, and we've just worked it around a little bit, which I think works into the girls nicely out through the side. So now we'll come around here, and I'm going to start through the side here. Now I've got my end goal of my fringe length there, but I definitely need to, in here, I'm going to come using a pointing technique, and I'm going to refine this shape. Okay, so point, reassess this and create a more fluid, beautiful shape through the front here. Okay, and you can see this through here. So that's why I really do like wrap drying, so I can be very honest with myself, and try and create the nicest shapes possible.
Leanne Hale says, love this cut.
Oh, Leanne, hello.
Aaron says, I would love to see a blowout golden colour through the fringe.
Oh, like a blowout, a golden. That would look beautiful, Marilyn. Okay, let's keep going. So when I'm doing something like this, what I'm thinking about, I'm not necessarily thinking about what I'm doing, which I know that sounds ridiculous. I'm thinking about where I'm going, okay? I am thinking about where I want to end up, not what I'm doing. I mean, this isn't hard to do. I'm just moving my thumb like that. So I would rather focus when I'm creating lines and things like that. I think about where I'm going. Okay, well, I'm on that eyeball. So look, let's pretend this is a client. I'm going to put it through my comb like that. But rest the comb onto the scalp, onto the head, the face, and bring that around. Okay. Does look pretty, doesn't it? Okay. And again, in through here, this is a line, right? So this is going to look more beautiful if I just now point into those ends. You know what I mean? And just kind of make it look like hair again. Yeah, just point into it. I think it looks softer. All right. So, and I love how heavy and full this fringe is. So let's go and repeat that on the other side and assess what we've got going on there. So we're going to come around here. You can see we've just got this bit from that shape at the bottom. I'm going to bring that in there. All right, so comb it down as true and as honest as you can be, so that you really can see what it is you need to do. Okay, I could have like tucked that behind there and like messed this up, and no one would be the wiser. But for me, when I'm cutting hair, and especially when I'm cutting a mannequin head, I really want to like be better than the last time I cut. I'm here to practice. That's what we're all here to do. So I'm here. We're going to come and refine this. The point where I really want to focus on is this, because this is one of my shortest points, and sort of this eyeball length here. Okay, so maybe rather than starting here, I might actually start here. Okay, make sure that's nice and tight. And let's actually work from this, because that really is a dictator, isn't it? That shorter piece there. So pointing. I always hold my hand here for balance as well, for stability, and sort of teeter between pointing that way and that way. And this is where you wish that you had your scissors really beautiful and sharp, which is definitely not the case after cutting mannequins for like months and months, but look, we'll get there. And then remember, we want to point cut, break through that line so it looks more expensive. I think it does anyway. Okay, so I'm happy with that. In through there. Now we're going to come through the back. Balance again. And come across. All right. Oh, come on, there's one more hair there. All right. Cool. So I've got a client with an earful of hair. So I'm just going to clean that off. Okay. How are we going? Is anyone still watching? I'm pretty slow. Okay. And we'll go down. Now I've done one side, I've done the other. I need to actually like see if I like them together, because you know, they might be like perfectly wrong together. So bring this down and just assessing the front. I could maybe just here, I'll show you what I'm seeing. Oh, good. Daniel? Yeah. All right, just here. I might just, it's just a little bit of a, there we go. Okay, let's bring that up there. Now, I think I am happy. I think we're done. So let's get a little bit of styling product. And, you know, I'm going to use some Faji. Oh, I don't know if I should use that one. I'll just rub it together really well. Okay, so this is like a soft, a very soft, beautiful product that I love to use for all hair types. Curly, straight, you know, put it in wet, put it in dry. But what I would do is rub it through my own hands first until it's, you know, it's just like a nice moisturizer. And then when I'm doing something like this, think about what it is you want to highlight. So I don't want to go like that, because I don't want to like interrupt my bowl and my shape through there. But maybe I want to through here just like add a little bit of movement and a bit more shine. So I'm going to use my little finger to pick this up. Is everyone laughing at my Faji use? Beswick. Lanolin based, is it, Alex? Look, it's debatable. My life's a lie. There's no lanolin in it. Okay, I think the next one's got lanolin. But see how I'm just using my hand? I'm picking up with my little finger, and you're kind of smoothing it. You can kind of smooth it through the top like that. You know, give it a nice little pat, and sometimes you can create some nice movement through that way.
It is now.
All right, I can't wait to get my hands on this new Faji. I feel like I'm like one of the witches waiting for the new formula to come out. All right, so Pavlos won't be happy because you can't see the eyes, but I'm going to split it a little bit in the middle as well. Maybe that's a bad idea. Is it a good idea? Oh well, I'm going to do it. Just make sure that eyeball's covered there. Gloss these little bits. And maybe hit it with a bit of Glam Mist as well, just to shine it up that little bit more. Pop this nice and high. Okay. So this is a nice product, the Glam Mist, because it is an aerosol-based gloss. So for something like this, it doesn't leave it wet, which is a good idea. I think I should put that down. That looks better. Kind of spray that through. You know, if you wanted to pick up any little bits, maybe the crown just a little bit, but also like when you've done something, you know, this haircut, you could definitely consider it more of a creative haircut. You don't want to add too much like tizziness, too many features. So maybe just through like this side, and to sort of style it, if I was styling this for a hair comp, you could kind of just even use your comb to kind of pick that up and sort of drag that across, so you get just that sort of sensation of movement without using too much hairspray. And then in through the back here, I might just pick that up. Like the way I would use hairspray is just a little bit. You could use the back of your comb, spray the back of your comb, and kind of push that in. And then just in this crown area, just to show off that shape, that fullness that we created in through there. Yeah. So can you see what I can see there? So just to kind of emphasize that shape up in through there. Now maybe the girls need to be a bit shorter here. Just this one here. Is everyone crying? Like, no! I'm picturing like my client squealing. No! Okay, that's better. It's a bit silly. But also this would look beautiful, you know, without these little features. But we had some people asking for rat tails for this whole demo time. So you've got to give the people what they want. All right. I think that's about it. Just want to bevel that out a little bit more. Better? Yeah. All right, I better hurry or I'm going to make everyone late for our staff meeting. So this is our finished look. So quick recap, starting with a very simple horseshoe section, okay? So we started with the horseshoe because there was a few things going on. And the reason I did the horseshoe, which should be really clear to you right now, is because I wanted the weight to sit around the head. So wherever you do a section, you create a weight line where you do that section. So once you figure that out, you're like, big brain. I can create shapes wherever I want. Do you know what I mean? Because all of a sudden the weight follows the section. So that's a key thing. So once that penny drops, you're going to have a happy time. Okay. So horseshoe, create weight around the head. Okay. So what we did is we then started through the back with some graduation, and hopefully you can see that graduated shape through there. And the first thing I did is I pivoted my graduated shapes from my point of origin, and it was just the two sections up in behind the ear that we stopped cutting so we could keep a couple of little rat tails. Again, not everyone's cup of tea. Don't do it if you don't want it. You just see that section right through to the hairline if you don't want to do that. Okay. Then once we pivoted to the back of the ears, we continued with that same diagonal forward shape, taking everything through to the front. We utilized a little bit of over direction towards the ear from the front so that we didn't lose the length as the hairline comes up. Yeah, so we used over direction through the front. So then what we did is we cross-checked our weight line. We had this beautiful clean weight line that got a little bit longer at the front due to our over direction. We then split the top down the center and we over directed everything out to that weight line. So it's kind of exactly like a cross graduation, except for usually in our barbershop, the cross graduation starts at the front with diagonal back. This time we've started at the back with diagonal forward. Yeah, so we've just chosen to direct the hair that way instead of barbers in the barbershop usually direct the hair that way. Okay, then we came through the front and we split it down the center with a diagonal forward, sorry, diagonal back, and just created that line, just took off some of that length. Then we wrap dried it. We internally refined first using a point cutting technique, making sure that you point cut on top of your fingers so that your shoulders are up and you're standing up straight. Yes, Bradley, stand up straight. So you remove weight. Yeah, you remove things on top of your fingers. Yeah, so it makes sense to point cut on top of your fingers. Then coming through and refining that perimeter. Make sure that you're honest with yourself. Comb the hair where it wants to sit so that you can really start working on your lines, and make sure you're really happy. I'm going to point cut that tiny bit. Make sure you're really happy with the shapes that you create, because if you are cutting at the moment at home on a mannequin, this is your chance to practice. And even though I want something to be really straight, I would still use a point cutting technique to help me get there, because I think it just sits a little bit softer. Yeah. We used some Faji for shine and then a little bit of Glam Mist, and we just styled that across using our comb to create that movement rather than our hands, because sometimes when you use your hands it can get a bit like hairdressery looking. And this looks hairdresser enough. So that's it. Thank you everyone for joining in. Remember, tomorrow's demo, 3:30. I'll be in the lounge. I hope to see you tomorrow. Big hello to everyone at Beba and everyone for watching your legends. Bye.